a number of years ago, when I first came into this kind of awareness at the very kind of beginning of it, aside from just the way I was raised, my father owned his own furniture store, and so he lived by a principle of abundance that I was raised within that framework. That really impacted my life in a really strong way. But years ago, before I owned the restaurant, I worked with a chef up at Sundance. I cooked in the tree room there for Robert Redford, and this fella, his father was a pastor of a church, and he told me, and this guy who's always complaining about everything, just nonstop. Everything was complaining, everything was wrong in his life, and he's going to tell you all about it, all the stories. And but he told me something interesting that had just never left me. He told me that his father, who was a pastor of a big church, told him one day, he said, you know, you need to put yourself into a position to receive. And I never forgot that phrase, position to receive. What does that really mean, to put yourself into a position to receive? Now, you could look at that concept at a purely material level, that you could get yourself into situations where you're just lining things up. Captain Chaos, yeah, The Secret. Let's talk about that in a minute, and I'll share with you my thoughts on that, because what I'm talking about right now is directly related to that. Thanks for the love, guys. The idea of position to receive can be understood on three levels, really. It can be understood on a physical level. Okay, I'm standing here, I'm ready to receive the ball, and the quarterback fires it at me, and I got it, right? So that's a physical level. I can be in a position to receive on a mental level. The Secret deals with reception and abundance and manifestation on a mental level. And so, but you can also align yourself in such a way that you are in alignment with divinity. And so there's really three worlds, there's really three bodies that we have. And if you get an alignment of communication within those bodies, then you can really manifest in this life. Yeah, I can understand that The Secret may be that way for you, because The Secret, and particularly, you know, there's a lot of great people that were involved in that. That was a wonderful work. But the way they presented it was really kind of commercial, and that's what brought the success of it. I'm not so sure if that principle within The Secret, if it had been delivered, say, in a spiritual way, that people really would have gotten it. But it's just a little tweak. It's just, hey, thanks for coming in. It's just a little tweak between the mental and the spiritual. Now, I was raised in a household where we practiced healing. And so we didn't, as a child growing up, when someone wasn't well, we used mental healing to, hey, Silent Warrior, thanks for coming in. We use mental healing to assist in having good health. And so I was raised in that principle. And actually, at the turn of the last century, this was a big deal. The movements like the New Thought movement, Christian Science, and then later a wonderful teacher, a Christian mystic by the name of Joel Goldsmith. It was my first exposure to mysticism, was reading Goldsmith's works. And I'll tell you a little story about Goldsmith and what happened with him. Mental healing can cover a lot of different areas, but this one I'm going to tell you about, this is very interesting, because he was a Christian Science practitioner and a reader in the church there, and what he had done is he had been assigned to go over and conduct the church services in the local prison. And when he first went in there and gave these services, nobody was coming to the events. Now, the church had told him before you go into the prison, because the prison's just filled with really bad people. And so they told him, and you have to do protective work. And the way that you do protective work is you fill yourself with light. You imagine yourself in a beam of light coming down from heaven, and you fill yourself with light, and that light will repel the evil forces, you know. And so he faithfully conducted his, you know, beam of light and protecting himself and everything else. Hey, thanks for coming in. And he conducted these services at the prison, but still nobody came. And nobody came. And he had a couple of people in there. And then what happened was one day he realized, he's like, well, you know, wait a minute. You know, these people aren't any different than me. They just happen to have ended up in prison. And, you know, sometimes there could be a fine line between any of us and somebody who's in prison. They're just people like us, right? And they got on a bad track and they got involved in the system and they end up in prison. And so he decided that he was just not going to do the protective work. And then what started happening was there became an explosion of people attending his service. And then he took it one step further. He realized that not only will he not do the protective work, but that he would actually bless the evil. And like in Christian scriptures, as we say, resist not evil. Okay, resist not evil. Don't fight it, because if you fight it, that's what you get. The master of the Christian Jesus, he's before Pilate, the greatest physical force of the known universe. And what does he say? He says, my servants, they do not fight. My kingdom is not of this world. So what's he talking about? He's talking about spiritual power there. And so, but the secret itself could have easily been taken to that next level. And the people who were there present in that video is a wonderful video, and the books are good too. And I've listened to the audiobooks for that as well. It's a wonderful piece of work. She did a really good job on that. But those people are well aware of the spiritual principles that are being taught, but that was put together in such a way that the masses could understand it. And so it appears as though it's it's made to mass appeal. Thank you, Vadim, for sharing that. Yeah. And so when you decide, after you've done the mental work for a while, and then you want to practice it at the higher level, you can actually put yourself into a position to receive and to have abundance. So let me finish the story with Goldsmith, though, because it gets really interesting. The services that he was conducting at the prison became so well attended that the warden actually tried to shut it down because they were afraid it was going to incite a riot. But what was happening was actually people were coming together in a wonderful peace because they sensed, you know, they're in a prison where all the guards just think these are horrible, evil people and all this stuff. And so they're in a constant state of condemnation and everything around them. And then there's this one little man that comes in on Sunday, and he's actually, not only is he not trying to protect himself from them, but he's actually casting out blessings and acceptance and love, and these people feel the love, baby, right? And so, you know, the attendance went off the charts, you know. And so Goldsmith actually found, he was a healer and quite a famous one as well, found that this is how he did his healing work. He didn't try to fight the disease. And by not fighting the disease, it can't stand. It can't stand. Now, there's a saying, as above, so below. Or in the Lord's Prayer, for example, if you come from a Judeo-Christian background, on earth as it is in heaven. Okay? On earth as it is in heaven. And the idea there is that what is in heaven is made to be the same on earth. In some religions, when you marry, you are sealed on earth as in heaven. And so that's not just a physical marriage, it's a relationship that's bound in spiritual connection. And so this kind of thinking. So how does this relate to where I began talking about the pastor and and putting yourself into a position to receive. How do you put yourself into a position to receive? Now, the first thing that comes to mind for me on that is I've had the wonderful opportunity in my lifetime to be relatively, at least certainly since 1987, 1988, I've literally been employed on my own for all those years. And by 1991, I began becoming on my route to becoming a trader, and then ultimately having a very large number of clients in a commodity trading advisory firm. And this is work that I still do to this very day. And what has happened, or what happened to me that I had to go face to face with over those years, is making a lot of money in short periods of time without actually doing any work. Now, I came from a background where, though maybe we were practicing mental healing and these kinds of concepts, I came from a background that taught a very strong work ethic, and so I had the belief that there was a connection between work and providence. Okay, I had this belief, and when we carry beliefs, we very often aren't aware. It's like on George Orwell's 1984, the sheep are in the pen, and then you can remove the pen, the sheep will stay. Okay, and so we all build these boxes around ourselves, and then we live in them. But all you got to do is stick your arm through it, and you're out of the box. See, but you don't really realize it, and so you stay in that box. And so this is can also describe it. This is like the layers coming off of the onion, right? And so I had the wonderful opportunity of making, sometimes 250, 375, sometimes the most ever biggest check I ever received was about $980,000 in a month, And you're sitting there going, well, I haven't done anything. But yes, you have. And I'm gonna talk now about what that is. It's essentially about alignment. Okay. Now, there's a couple of ways you do that. I brought in here today. This is my prop. That's my prop, guys. Okay. Light bulb, right? Now, what does this light bulb do? It sends out light. It sends out light in all directions. Yeah, we're going to talk about the work part of it in a minute. Okay. This sends out light in all directions. But what did I do in order to get there as a commodity trading advisor? It had nothing to do with working for money. It had to do with working my passion, because I became so passionate about developing trading systems that I ate it, slept it, drank it, breathed it. I lived it. It's like Pee Wee Herman. What's he say? I lived it, Dottie, right? And so a lot of people live their lives kind of like this, that they're shining their light out, but the problem is this light, it goes in all different directions. It's not focused. And if you set this in the middle of a room, it may kind of light an area or something like that. But what if you take this is like a 65 watt CFL or whatever, right? What if you make a 65 watt laser you can cut through steel with it? You don't have any more power, but you've just taken that and you've focused it down. Okay, and so I was developing trading systems with extreme focus. Now, in retrospect, looking back, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was my passion to do it. And then what happened was, because I'm being driven by the passion, then what happens is the universe actually aligns itself, and this is the kind of same principle as The Secret. Same principle as The Secret. Now, at the same time, I was deeply studying the works of Joel Goldsmith, mysticism, which are spiritual principles. It takes it to one more level up. Now, if you look at the teachings of mystery schools, or if you kind of dabbled towards that. Yeah, the power of concentrated passion. What a beautiful phrase, Vadim. Thanks for sharing that. So In the Huna teaching, which is ancient Hawaiian teaching, what you have is three worlds. You've got the physical, which this would be the body, right? And then you've got the mental, or the conscious, and then you've got the superconscious. Okay? Now, within that teaching, and I just love this because it's so simple to understand this, you've got the body, and that may be like the heart. I think last discussion we talked about the heart, and then you've got the head. And you've always heard the wonderful saying, when you're a kid, maybe you heard it, but it didn't really make any sense to you. The longest journey you'll ever take is the journey from your head to your heart. It's so hard for us to do that, But when the head and the heart are in alignment, you're going to be a great person, and you're probably going to manifest just from that alone. But when you align that up with your superconscious, then it opens up a pathway for divinity to come into your life and manifest outward. Now, when you're doing that, are you using your willpower? No. You're actually creating a conduit through which divinity can act through you. Now, in our last session, we talked about a grapefruit tree. I got a grapefruit tree out in my backyard. It's still got about 100 grapefruits on it. And it's abundance beyond comprehension. It's just, and the fruit on it's just astonishing. It's just amazing. It's dripping, wonderful, tasty grapefruit. So what is that? What is that grapefruit tree? And I brought up last week, is there any moment at which that, yes I can, Vadim, thank you. Is there any moment at which that grapefruit tree is not just being a grapefruit tree in the manifestation of this wonderful fruit? And the answer is no, it's just being. It's just being. But it's being its purpose. And so it has a natural passion, and then it manifests the fruit. So the idea here is, if you are aligning with, just being what it is. So what if you just be what you are? Now, in order to be what you are, hey, Hugo, thanks for coming in, man. If you just be what you are by allowing these three to come into alignment, your heart, your head, and your superconscious mind, then you become a conduit, all right? And then things like work don't matter anymore because you're just going to engage in your passion. Now, a lot of people ask me, and somebody asked me last week when we did a session, how do you know what your passion is? We'll start with what's right in front of you. You've got something that you're doing in your life, and you just fulfill that passion, and you do that. And then as you go along, other things will make themselves available to you. But as that passion is strong, you'll actually begin to attract. That's that law of attraction from The Secret or from the Abraham Hicks work or something like that, if you've ever looked at that work, right? And exactly what makes you feel good, because when you feel good, your heart radiates out a positive energy, and then when you're radiating out a positive energy, resources come to you. So I developed this trading system, and I had reached out to some brokers. Okay, this is how this whole thing started taking off for me as a commodity trading advisor. I reach out to some brokers on the phone, and some of them sign up with me, and they're sending me clients, and I spend time with the clients, I connect with them, and virtually everybody's signing up. I mean, like 95% of the people are signing up. And then one day, phone rings, I pick it up, and on the other end there's this man, and he tells me his name, and he goes, "Do you know who I am?" And I go, "No, I don't know who you are." And he goes, "I own a futures clearing firm in New York City, and I have 600 brokers that work for me. I have 600 brokers that work for me." I couldn't have made this up. Truth is stranger than fiction. I couldn't have made this up, I couldn't have made something like this happen. It's crazy. I got 600 brokers that work for me. We want to raise some money for you. I go, okay, great. Whatever, right? So he says, okay, I want you to send your trades into my guy. He's going to track your performance, and if you make He told me if you make 50% in a year, we'll raise you a couple $1,000,000. Okay. What happened? Another thing that I couldn't possibly have made happen, we were up 50% in 6 weeks from the time they started tracking us. That CEO of that firm was a very excitable, very passionate man himself. Very excitable, very passionate man. And he rallied his 600 brokers to raise money for us. I kid you not, this is back in the days of fax machines. I kid you not, our fax machine was running so many hours a day that people couldn't send faxes in. It was literally running about 8 hours a day, our fax machine, receiving the new accounts that were coming in. It was astonishing to watch this happen. I literally became a witness of my own success and abundance. And I couldn't have imagined it for everything that, in my wildest dreams. But all I had done in the process of getting there was to follow my passion. How long did I follow my passion for? You wouldn't even believe it. Okay. From 1991 to 1997, for 7 years, as my hobby, I focused everything I had in the direction of this activity. I still do the same thing today, but I don't do it for money. I do it because it's what I love, and then it always takes care of me. So I've learned, and I have a tremendous faith, which might not be easy at first. You just kind of get to a place where you just go, oh my goodness, I'm just so grateful. I'm just so grateful. Not because of the abundance that I'm receiving, but because I'm manifesting divinity. That's what it appears like to me. You might think, well, that's a bunch of bonk. You've worked your tail end off. But I would have done it whether I got paid or not. And then the other thing too is going back to the pastor in the beginning of our discussion here. What did he say? Put yourself into a position to receive. I don't know, Greg. Thanks, 21. Hey, put yourself into a position to receive. What does that mean? It means that the endeavor that you're undertaking, and my dad said like 15 things to me the whole time growing up, but they were always profound when it came out of his mouth. What did he say? He said, if you're gonna be a king, make sure it's not a molehill. Don't be a king of a molehill. Make the endeavor that you're engaging in, that is your passion, the one that's worthwhile for you. Okay, and in so doing, you put yourself into a powerful position to receive. So it's worked so many times over, and it's funny because it doesn't always just come like every week. It's not like a paycheck, and so it comes in windfalls at times, and other times it just trickles in, or sometimes not for a time. It could test your faith. Yeah. Cyclical, exactly, up and down. And so a French student, my daughter just came from Paris. Hey, Beyond Rome. My daughter just came from Rome too. Yes, in Rome a couple weeks, and then in Paris for a couple of weeks. And then now they're in Beijing. Just flew to Beijing and got there today. So yeah. Thanks for coming in, guys. If you have any questions, please ask me. And I'm going to go over and pick up my 15-year-old at the high school, who's also doing a good job of manifesting his desire. He's a runner. He's a mile runner. He's 15 years old, and he's running about a 4:20. And he's on track potentially to run a 4-minute mile while he's still in high school. There have been 7 people now in the history of the United States who have run a 4-minute mile in high school. And what's interesting about that is there are 4 kids at this same high school that are running together, all with similar times. There are 4 kids that are all on track to run 4-minute miles while they're in the high school, and they're all at the same high school. What's the probability of this? It's just crazy. You look at it and you go, and when I talk to my son, I go, you couldn't have lined up. You got like the best coach in the world that they possibly could have had. Yeah, good coach. He worked with this particular coach is a young guy, but he worked with Coach Scott at San Marcos State University, who's one of the greatest runners in American history. And so these guys are all tied in together with some of these greatest runners and coaches. Hey, Lorene, thanks for coming in. And so anyways, this is also a form of manifestation of the passion. He is extremely focused on running a 4-minute mile. And so, yeah, thanks for sharing those quotes with John the other day. And so, yeah, yesterday, I think. Yeah, welcome in, guys. So if you have any questions for me before I go, please ask me now. I got a few minutes before I got to run. So, hey, Lorene. No questions? Oh, so let me. No, I'm always working, so I don't get much going on the football. How much do I win? How much do I win in what? Are you asking a percentage question or are you asking a money question? Yeah, thanks, Vadim. Yeah, Vadim got into our bond program and he made $2,000 today. He made what would that come down to, Vadim? Let me figure it out for you. Yeah, Vadim made $2,000 today on our bond program. Yeah, he made 13% today alone on his account. Congratulations, bro. Yeah, if you want to see the most amazing bond program, guys, this passion thing doesn't just end at the it like glows outward, okay? There's a whole bunch of people that are impacted in a positive way because of the work, okay? It's not just the money that I make. It's impacting people's lives in a positive way. It's like our oil trading room, for example. We got people coming in there. I literally have people coming in there that are really, I mean, they'd be living in their car in a few weeks if something good doesn't happen to them. And I have the wonderful opportunity. Yeah, last month, the numbers aren't in yet, so I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth. But on my statement, it was close to $7,000, almost 50. Like 45%, something like that. The numbers aren't in yet. I let the regulators compute the numbers, but just phenomenal returns. I can tell you over the years, I've gotten letters from people who were involved in my trading programs. I get this one lady, I'll never forget this letter I got. She told me, oh, my husband left me. I got 2 kids, and I put my money in, and I had, with faith, I put it in your trading program. And if I hadn't had the money come in from these, from the trading that you did, we would have been out on the street. Thank you. Blessings, blessings. It's just the most wonderful thing imaginable to be able to have affected people's lives. Oh, the bond program, this current trading program, the bond program, is at least 4 times better than any other trading program I've ever had. Yeah, at least 4 times better. It's so far beyond anything else out there that we've ever seen. And I've seen so many trading programs over the years. And I have traders submitting trading programs to me all the time. I look at them, I test them. I know some really amazing statistical testing procedures for rooting out whether or not a trading program is going to survive. And so this thing is the very best I've ever seen. Very, very best I've ever seen. It's just astonishing. Yeah, so many blessings, not just for myself, but for everybody involved in the program. Yeah, yeah, it's really nice. And it doesn't end there. All this trading stuff has just been a wonderful area for personal development and growth. Yeah, and a lot of people's lives are being transformed. Some people don't get it. I get it. So let me do one final thing. I'm gonna go here in a minute, but let me do one final thing that I didn't finish up. Basically, your conscious mind is the captain of the ship. Okay. Now here's in a position to receive. Thank you very much. The conscious mind is the captain of the ship. But here's the interesting thing. The captain doesn't really know everything. He's relying on his crew to give him good information about what's happening on the ship. Okay? What's the crew? The heart, your unconscious mind, which is absolutely vast. All learning, memory is unconscious. Now I'll tell you something that's even more interesting about the conscious mind. The conscious mind likes to think it has ideas. This mind, the conscious mind, the one that you're listening to me and understanding me with, is only capable of comprehending about 7 bits of information at any given moment. Now, if you develop a skill set, you can actually start chunking some things together and do more complicated tasks. But 7 plus or minus 2 is what is accepted as the amount that the conscious mind can do. But there's been a lot of research in recent years, actually recent decades, that just got shoveled under the rug, but that the conscious mind actually runs about a half a second behind reality. It's about a half second behind. So what this thing is receiving and understanding is actually past tense. The ideas that are coming to it are actually coming from the unconscious mind, which is this vast reservoir of every memory you've ever had and all the learning that you've ever had. And so that's the crew of the ship. And then there's this superconscious mind that's not even of the body. And the only way you can get to that, the consciousness doesn't go straight to that. What happens is the conscious mind sends the message to the conscious mind, okay, to the unconscious mind. The conscious mind sends a message that says, I'm the captain of the ship. I want to put myself into a position to receive by doing what I'm passionate about. Sends it to the heart. The heart goes, oh, well, I know what you're passionate about. You're passionate about this. And then that sends the message up to the superconscious mind, which passes the message up to the divinity. This comes from the Huna teaching. It passes it up to the divinity. Divinity gives the approval upstairs, sends the inspiration right back down to the conscious mind, and then to the unconscious mind, where it's able to fulfill the order. It's able to fulfill the order. That's manifestation. Conscious mind sends an order to the unconscious mind that sends a message to the superconscious mind that sends the message to divinity that sends it back to the superconscious mind. Then you have conscious realization. Ever be working on something and you just get suddenly goosebumps all over your body and you're just like, whoa, I just went out of the box. Something amazing's happening here. Ever have that happen? It's a moment of profound inspiration, right? And then that goes to the unconscious, which is the mind of the body. It could also be your heart. You can think of it that way too. And it fulfills the order. So if you let that system work as it's naturally designed to, this is ancient teaching. This is not something I came up with. It so works, guys. And so today's message, align for abundance, how to receive blessings. I use the word blessings very intentionally because blessings come from a higher source. And so, but you gotta use the process and get yourself out of the way so you can receive that. And so I wish you all to be able to live your passion and have these things start happening to you. Whatever your passion is in life, I don't care if it doesn't make any sense. It's like, no, don't be a musician. You got to go to college and become an engineer so you'll be miserable and, end up not doing what you want, Well, guess what? If you'd followed your passion and it was music, you probably would have done great things, So many people make this mistake, of making the logical decision or the conscious decision. But what you want to make is you want to make the decision that's driven from the heart, that's in alignment with the conscious mind, and then in alignment with your purpose. So, hey, thanks for coming in. It's just in time for us. We're going to finish up. We'll have the recording for this. And so, thanks for coming in, guys. I feel so very blessed. I'm wishing you peace, health, and prosperity beyond all understanding. Thank you. Bye-bye.